Hallo, welkom lieve kijkertjes. Leuk dat jullie er zijn, weer in het middeleeuwen. Het is een tijdje geleden, maar we gaan het vandaag hebben over Come Deliverance 2. En dat gaan we doen met een hele speciale gast, namelijk Tobias Stolz-Zwilling. Is that correct?
Very
Close
correct.
enough? Awesome.
It's perfect.
En ik ga het in het Engels doen, want dan is het wel handig dat we elkaar kunnen verstaan als we dat interview gaan doen natuurlijk. Dus denk je nou bij jezelf, ik kan geen Engels, ga dat dan even leren en kom dan terug, want het gaat zeker de moeite waard zijn. We hebben bij ons in de studio, geboren in Offenbach, Duitsland, begon zijn carrière als sportjournalist bij Rhein-Main TV. Televisionen. Rende daarna nog een tijdje rond als reporter van de radio. En uiteindelijk kwam hij in 2014 terecht als community manager bij Warhorse Studios, waar hij al snel doorgroeide naar PR-manager. En daar stond hij onder andere aan het roer van het succesverhaal Come Deliverance 1 en 2. Welkom, Tobias Stolz-Zwilling.
Vielen Dank für die Einladung. Thank you very much for having me, for the invitation.
Welcome to Game Kings. We normally are just a couple of dudes talking about games. Mm-hmm. So I thought that's where we should start today, probably. And before I want to know how you went from a sport journalist to a PR manager, I want to know, what's your gaming life like? When did you get into gaming?
Oh, that's a difficult one. So when did I get into gaming? Atari 2600, first console my cousin owned, actually, not myself. So we were playing Jumpman and these kind of games. So then I'm half Czech, so the consoles we got over there were rarely the original ones.
Really?
Usually some fake ass versions, like, these 50,000 games on one cartridge kind of thing.
Stunning Man instead of Running Man, yeah.
Exactly. So I played some kind of Contra version very early, which we called Action, because we didn't know really what the name was, so it was just Action. But gaming was always in my veins. When I got the Super Nintendo in the early 90s, that was like next. So I had the Game Boy before, of course, but the Super Nintendo was the one that got me really, really hooked. Up to today, in my opinion, it's the best console ever released.
Really?
All the OG games, the first Mario Kart, Super Mario World, or the Donkey Kong Country, next level stuff in my opinion. But I was, in my childhood, I was playing handball.
Yeah.
And I played this actually pretty successful, made it to some teams, got a contract, and so on and so on. So my goal was always to become a professional sportsman.
Yeah.
And to support that, because my mom was always like, you have to go to school and learn stuff, and just you never know when you get injured and stuff.
I know.
And this is exactly what happened. So
She jinxed it.
She jinxed it. I studied journalism in my bachelor, only to have like a plan B or something, because I always my plan was to become a professional handball player. But then injuries and stuff happened, and then end of career before it even started. So I moved to Czech Republic because I'm half Czech. My mom is Czech. And I thought, hey, there's so many journalism students and only so many positions that I wanted to be more interesting in something. So I moved to the Czech Republic. The plan was to do my master's there and return immediately, but I lived for the first time alone, Czech beer, Czech food. I never returned home. So since then, I'm still there. However, while I do speak fluent Czech, I absolutely cannot write Czech. So it's like
Really?
French, for instance, right? It sounds different than it actually written. So if you think about it,
interesting though. As a Duolingo player,
yes,
that's my game. Normally, writing it is more easy because then it just goes too fast. And if you read it, it's like you got all the time you need, right?
Absolutely not gonna happen. No. So in Czech Republic, the I and the Y are both pronounced or spelled E, but it really it's like the German daddy does. You need to kind of know where it's an I, where it's an Y, and I always do it wrong because for me, the Y looks nicer, just from English, always Y in the end.
Yeah.
But, long story short, people think I'm a 5-year-old when
they think
I
you're a
write.
bad journalist because you can't write. Yeah,
exactly. So I was working in the radio station, which was much better, of course. Yeah. But they kind of believed in my journalism talents, but I always needed someone who controlled the text after me, which is really bad if you need 2 journalists for one job, kind of. So I started to be first I was working for German media in Prague, which was great, but they didn't give me a full position, so that money ran short, and I was like really almost on the brink of going home again to Germany. Now mission over, kind of experiment failed, but I was living in the city center in some apartment building. And one day I was in the elevator, and some bearded fat dude ran in and came like, "Hey, wait a second," and he introduced himself. "Hey, my name is Daniel Vavra. I live here." I said, "Okay, cool." And I looked at him and it's like, I saw this dude somewhere. I heard the name. I remembered it from somewhere, so I went to my apartment, Googled his name, and then it said like, "Hey,
he was like the lead writer of Mafia 1 and 2, right?
Creator of Mafia 1, Mafia 2, and now opened up Warhorse Studios and they're on Kickstarter and whatnot." It's like, whoa, you know what? Let's try it, YOLO, right? So I was looking if they are searching for any positions. They didn't. Well, they did for programmers and whatnot. So I bad luck. But a week later, or 2 weeks later or so, maybe Thursday evening or so, I looked up again and they were looking for community manager. So I said, that's my moment. So I dressed up, printed my CV. As I said, 10 p.m. or so, went down the stairs, knocked on his door. His wife came out and said, "Hey, what's up?" I said, "Hey, is Daniel at home?" I said, "Yeah, sure." And he came in his undies and said, "Hey, Daniel, I know who you are. I love what you do. Here's my CV."
This is like a movie, right?
This is right time, right spot. And I went there and got the job. And he was laughing. It's shitty paid. I said, "Yeah, I'm a journalist. Everything is shitty paid." And since 2004, I started as a community manager in May 14 or so.
Yeah, because is this around like I think they pitched the idea in like 2011, right? Then,
well, yes and no. The idea of KCD was born 2011. The studio was found. Right. The idea of KCD is much older. Then they found the studio. Then they were trying to sell the idea to a publisher, which failed. Yeah. They couldn't find anyone who. It was before the new generation of consoles, so PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Yeah. Publishers said no one will play on console anymore. Single player games are dead, and you should play Facebook games, or you should make Facebook games. So we said no. And 2014 was like the last straw, last chance. January 14 actually Kickstarter. If that would have failed, then the studio would have never been created. Or we would like lock it and that's it.
But then you started as like a community manager with no prior experience in that function at all.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
For a game that didn't prove itself either. Yeah.
You know, the point is that of those, I don't know, 35,
what pulled
40,
you in? Like except for needing a job. What about their fame, their ideas?
Dude, it's like first of all, working in video. I do remember when I was a kid playing Super Mario Kart. My mom was it was in the Czech Republic. She wanted to send me to bed, saying, "Hey, you have to go to bed. You are playing all day or whatever. Go to bed." Yeah. Something like that. I cannot remember.
Go outside or go to bed.
Yeah, something like that. And I turned, and I can remember as if it was yesterday that I turned around and looked at it. It's like one day I will work in the video game industry as a. Maybe it didn't say video game industry, maybe, but I will work in video games and I will be testing games, like a game tester.
That's
because
funny.
You don't know any other jobs than
my father, like Game Kings is 30 years old now. And my father used to be like, "What are those 40-year-old something talking about? Are they become an adult?" And now I'm here, so hi, Dad. But that, I mean, what's interesting to me, I think that when you joined, like. They already worked on Kingdom Come, right? Or they started
theoretically. Yeah. So they had some vertical slices and everything, but after the Kickstarter was successful in February 14, that's when the real work started. So they redone everything pretty much. So February is when they started to work, and I joined in May, I think, or so, something like so, 2 months in, and. You said I had no prior experience. That's very true, but you need to consider that most of the 40 people that worked there at that time had no prior experience. You had like 10, 15 people that ever worked on a video game before, and the rest were just young guns with dreams and hopes and talent. So
pretty rock and roll.
Very rock and roll, very punk rock.
Yeah.
And between the time I started, as I said, with 40 people or so, and the release, in 2018, we hired another 70 people. So it was released by 110. And then, of course, there were people who did video games before. But the vast majority, for the vast majority, like 3/4 or so never worked on a video game before. So it's a debut title for everyone there.
And this, of course, was a Kickstarted game, so you have a community before you start working. Is it normal for like other games that don't take that route, that just to have a community manager / a PR manager that early on? Because what do you do if there's nothing to communicate about? That's my biggest question.
So I think there's always something to communicate about, and that's the biggest misconception maybe from smaller studios. So I understand the fact that marketing generally is an expensive thing to have in the studio, and the reason is, of course, you have to pay them. But another reason is that they do not usually directly contribute into the game. So you can have either a marketing person, and by marketing can be everything, PR, community all together. It really doesn't matter at that point. Or you can have another programmer or another animator or another whatever who's actually contributing something into the game. But that's a very a philosophical question. But are we contributing or not? Because it's a misconception that you work on a game, you finish the game, and once it's finished, and you fill up the warehouse, let's say, and then you're starting to sell the game. That's not how modern life works. You have to educate the people. You need to gather feedback as much as possible. By educate, I mean some kind of expectation management. So you show them early stuff, you get the feedback, you carry that feedback back to the studio, say, hey, the people liked it or resonated, it didn't resonate as good as we thought, and so on and so on. So all these things, it's like a bridge between the outside world and the developer, because they should focus on developing the game. I'm, for instance, trying to make sure that we talk about it, Game Kings, about the game, for instance, or that it's being mentioned in the top upcoming indie titles or something like that. And this doesn't happen automatically. It rarely happens.
But is the difference then between the PR function and the communication function talking to us or talking to the player?
You mean my current?
Yeah, like you started as a community manager, so I can imagine that's way more directly to the people who backed it up on Kickstarter, who are going to play it.
Yes and no. You're right that usually if you have a big studio, then you have several people for several disciplines. Now, as I said, marketing is expensive, and marketing is still expensive, not necessarily connected to money, but expensive in head count. So you rarely have dedicated people for dedicated positions. So my position from community expanded to PR because the person who was responsible for talking to press and so on. So he while he's a great guy, he talks terribly. He talks terribly.
He talks like
people.
You write, check.
Well. He talks to people, and the people think they are offended by him. So it's just his way of humor. So I offered hey, maybe I should try to talk to the people, and you do the marketing stuff. But my position now didn't change so much. Only that instead of only doing hey, I'm getting the notes, and now I'm reading the notes. I'm now developing the notes, doing the strategies. How should we communicate? To who should we communicate? China right now, for instance, is starting to become a huge market for KCD2. Awesome. So how do we tackle that market? How do we prepare? Do we prepare something special for them or not? Or do we do Gamescom or not, save the money and go to a Chinese event because whatever, right? So my position, the only thing that changed is more the scope of work, I guess.
In those early days, when you were mostly then I think communicating with the kickstarting, the people that backed the game up, what's the thing that you made it into the game, from their feedback? What's the biggest thing you really was guys, I don't care what you all say, we should do this because this is what they want?
I luckily never had to really convince anyone. So I don't think we ever had the situation where the people wanted something and the devs were absolutely against it. It's at least. So, of course, they wanted stuff like jousting and so on, and medieval. So, I'm not talking now necessarily about the different features that didn't make it into the game or so. People wanted to have night tournaments or whatever, and we said, no, that's not going to happen because we just focus on different stuff. But what we did quite a lot was we did in total 5 early versions, 3 alphas or 2 alphas, 3 alphas and 2 betas for KCD1, in which we showed, thinking back of it, super broken and super early builds of KCD1. But the idea was to show how the open world is supposed to work, how the AI is supposed to work, that it will be a lot of talking, not so much fighting behind every corner as you are used to in different games. So we did that to see if the people appreciate that or not. And I don't think that I cannot remember if there was anything where they said, "Oh, you absolutely should do something which we didn't want before." It was more like historical facts, for instance, or some immersion
like discussions
breakers
between,
and discussions, exactly, where they said, "Hey, this particular armor style is too early or too late or whatever." Chickens is some funny story where we had because it was some standard CryEngine chicken models, whatever, that was used in the very early times, and they were like brown and white and whatnot, all kind of colors, and people some chicken master expert reached out to us that's impossible. It's super not historical because white chicken were bred much later than brown chicken, whatever. So white chicken had to go.
That's amazing. Interesting. Like you already talked about the amazing growth you made as a studio. It's not many times we had like such a big studio sitting here talking to us. So what I was wondering, like I think most people know what the process is to make a movie. Like, you know, you get a screenplay, you bring it to a studio and you film it and you edit it. Basically, there's a pre, during, and a post. I can imagine making a game is way more flexible. I mean, there's not really a beginning and an end. Like, that's how it feels like for me. Can you take me, or our viewers as well, like on what is it like? What are like the phases a game goes through? How does that work? Are there like points of no return?
A lot of despair, blood, hating. You hate your product for most of the time. You think it's shit most of the time. And it takes a very long time until you start to realize and accept that the game you're working on is actually good. But and this for us happened this year's January when we did the early review code. And then in January, the first previews came in. It was like, oh, actually, we might to have something good on hand. Yeah. But you know, I sometimes try to compare the video game industry to building a house, or like working on a video game is like building a house, except when you build a house, usually first you have the groundwork, then the bricklayers come at some point, the painters come, then someone is putting on a roof or whatever. So everything's one by one, and they are coming one after the other, after each other. However, in the gaming industry, they're all there already, and they're starting. Everyone starts simultaneously working on a house. So the painters are painting a wall that's not even standing there, and then they realize that the wall is in some other place, or the color is wrong, or it's too much color, not enough color. So unfortunately, and that's the where good management comes in, where we did much better in KCD2 than we did in KCD1, is managing that everyone that you don't have to waste work so much. And that is very difficult, honestly, because things are changing really quickly. The gaming industry is very unfortunately ready to postpone games. That's really relatively normal. That's not so normal in like if you're selling watches or toothpaste or whatever. Moving your product is an impossible thing almost. In the video game industry, it's not. So, but everything starts on the drawing board, of course, where the creative director usually have to come up with, this is the plot of the game. He has a team of writers, in our case, narrative designers, who are sitting with them. But the main plot line is being, in our case, put together by Daniel Vavra. So that's a very vision-driven project, KCD. And in this plotline, he's then introducing, of course, the story, what characters, what places, and so on. And the designers then, in this world, in this frame, are able to put their own quest in there. So the quest in KCD2, for instance, you as a narrative designer, you follow them from writing them until completion, until they're in the game. So one designer at Warhorse Studios owns, for instance, 3-4 quests or so in KCD2, and they must follow that up until the point it's finished by QA, and like that's it.
So you kind of like point A, point B, and you can fill in what's between that. Yeah. And then also in this case, you have a story that's like not one plot. It's
exactly. So but this, the reason I think is the way how we understand the design part. So I call them narrative designer, because in many studios you have a writing team and some level designers and some other designers, and so everyone is doing a part, and at the end they put that together. And what then sometimes might happen is that the quests are not connected to the world. So they are a little world in a world kinda, and they don't really matter so much in the grand scheme of the game.
Yeah.
We tried extremely hard with KCD2, and I think there's one particular quest, the wedding quest, when you arrive there. We tried really hard that the world feels like the things you're doing matter, that the world is connected, the quests are connected, the characters are connected, and that they are developing somehow. So in the wedding quest, I hope.
Like in KCD2, right?
KCD2,
Yeah.
yes. In the wedding quest, when you arrive there, we can see this on the screen right now. When you arrive at the wedding quest, you see so many characters which you eventually already met in the open world,
Yeah.
and they will greet you accordingly. If they met you before, they say, "Hey Henry, what's up?" And if they like you, they will be nice to you. If they hate you, they will let you know, and so on.
Yeah.
So I think when you as a player arrive here, you will have this moment of, oh, I know this dude and I know this dude. Oh, that was a funny idea as well. And they will all kind of react to. And I think that is what makes KCD so strong, that we try extremely hard to have this narrative red line that goes through all the parts of the game. And because our designers are following the quest, they know of everything that goes on into the game, and they try to connect it to the world so that it never feels detached. And I think that's a strength.
Is that like a web? Is there like this big map?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is how they write the quests, definitely. So we have this. Skald is the writing system we are using, and it's really. It looks great, exactly as you said, like this web with the different boxes and everywhere, because KCD has such a huge amount of words. And again, because the people can like you or dislike you, and they are reacting differently according to that, you really have this huge map of possibilities.
I mean, you're right. This scene, we'll talk about my experience with the game in a bit, but definitely during this scene, I always wanted to be a pirate. And when I was doing this, I was like, no, I want to be a medieval blacksmith.
And being invited to a wedding.
Yeah, exactly. And just dance a little bit.
Yeah.
The historical accuracy, you talked about it a lot. It's very important to you. But it should never... This is a funny thing I read. Like, there are no children. I've never realized that. It's so weird to me. But it's very important to you. But gameplay should always come first.
Exactly.
I went to Kuttenberg, Kut naar horen, which was already funny because it has the word kut in it. But that doesn't matter. And what is like... can you talk us through the process of making like those choices? What makes a gameplay aspect more important than being historical accurate?
It's a very good question. It's our daily problem, struggle, challenge. So on one hand, we have authentic gameplay or realism in a kind of way. We are not, and that is important. That is something that everyone should like understand and realize. We are not doing a medieval reconstruction. We are not doing 100%. This is exactly how it was historical. We don't. It's
not a simulation.
It's not a simulation. This is a version of how it could have looked like. Right? So nothing in here should feel out of place. Everything should be at least plausible. That is the big point. But when we are working on features, quests, dialogues, places, then we try to balance really the fun gameplay versus realism, authenticism, and so on. So not... At the end of the day, exactly as you said, it must be a fun gameplay. It's a video game. So the focus... We never sacrificed anything... like we never sacrificed fun gameplay for realism or something, because you don't want to be bored. However, the things that are in there at least must be, as I said, authentic or plausible. So nothing should like really be super weird, because the people, even if you don't know, if you're not a expert on here like medieval markets or whatever, then you will feel, if it accumulates, you will feel that something is out of place here after a while. So, like this dude clipping away,
but are there things... cut it out. No. Yeah. Are there things like we collectively think that should be there, but aren't there if you really... Like, because our view on medieval times is basically based on some books, but mostly on TV and movies, I guess. Are there things that like collectively we all think about that are truly medieval and you guys realize they're not?
Oh, there's tons of misconceptions. Absolutely. Black teeth, for instance, like everyone having bad teeth and everything is gray and everyone has only like ripped clothes and no colors and everything. So of course the people, when they had some money, of course they were showing off. Of course they were trying to show their fancy clothes or paint their house or whatever. Black teeth and like bad teeth is something of modern age because the diets change. So our food now is much more sugary than it was back then.
And it's way more in England.
Exactly, and it stayed like that since now till now. But we try to avoid these things, of course, and on the other hand, exaggerate a little bit. So this dude here we're seeing has some kind of blue color. Blue is usually very expensive and don't want to say reserved for nobility, but it was really rare, but we like it. So we said, hey, let's use some more blue because it just looks cool. So it's not impossible, but more unlikely, let's say. But these things are all good. As long as it's not out of place, then it's fine. And about the kids, you mentioned earlier. So this is also somewhere example where open world collides with realism somehow. On one hand, you want a realistic game. On the other hand, you want an open world game. But in open worlds, you can do crazy stuff. Yeah. You can kill everyone, and then you have all those orphans, or you like with no parents or anything. You can go to a shop very early. Steal all the armor and weapons and be super rich, and I get the question then, and what should I do then? It's like, yeah, well, then you have all the stuff. I mean, that's the open
like
world.
The same you can try in real life, but yeah.
So plus the children thing also could get you theoretically into trouble with age rating and so on. Yeah. And we decided that while it absolutely makes sense, there should be much more children in the streets than they are today, probably. But this is connected to a lot of extra work. So you need the animations, everything. Yeah. It's not just a small male or female. So you need to do new set of animations and everything, clothing and so on. Do they fight? Do they not fight? So it's so much more work. We decided we will not put into there because we do not think it benefits. While it would benefit immersion, absolutely, it doesn't. Like the overall game, but I mean, can live without.
Yeah, and the stealing part. Like, what if I do that? My colleague here working, Dan, he is like the biggest thief ever, and he was like a rich ass motherfucker, like very early on. And I want to be. I'm an honest knight. You can tell, right?
Of course.
But it made me kind of angry that he was very strong very early on, but. That's life, right? You can being an asshole sometimes just helps. So I think that just helps with realism to me.
But I love that. I can remember I was in the United States. I was early showing KCD2 before it released.
Yeah.
And I had several streamers there, and they were all playing the same build. The first 8 hours or so of KCD.
I think that's what we played in.
Yes, exactly. The same thing you played without the Kuttenberg part. They just started from the beginning as far as they can get. And it was extremely interesting to see how, of course, the first 2 hours or so are more streamlined and straightforward, like they're on rails a little bit. So everyone has this broad, great wow moment, cinematic and everything. But after that, when the open world opens, it was so great to see how everyone was acting differently. So some of them were like, okay, let's rush into the next quest. And then they got immediately beaten up and killed. And they were like, what happened? Other ones were like, okay, they told me I should gather some equipment. So they were trying to look through the entire village and see like if they can get something. There were dudes, exactly as you said, stealing everything. And they got into trouble all the time. But they were super geared up. Yeah. They had to go through some hard time in the beginning, being on the pillory every now and then. But then they were geared up and had a bit of an easier time playing through the quests. So I think that is maybe what makes an RPG an RPG, giving you the chance to really role play and try different things. I like a lot that now that the game is out already, I sometimes see on streams on some people who are playing the game with some kind of mission. So I want to play and without sinning, I want to play without stealing or whatever. Yeah. And this is kind of cool how they gamify that experience and role play essentially. So if we don't win role playing RPG game of the year, then I will.
Don't worry about that.
Sad.
But I mean, I had this problem where sometimes I felt like a quest would be very easy if I could lockpick, but I can't because I just never did it. I don't do that. I don't go into your house and steal your stuff, and then in a quest you have to do it, and you're like, fuck. What now? So I love that little
We
puzzle.
try to minimize that. Sometimes we didn't manage to make sure that you don't have to steal at all. There's at least one point in game where you have to do some stealing, but we usually try to minimize you being forced into something.
Yeah.
So most of the quests that you face in the game and most situations that you face in the game can be really solved by multiple ways and multiple disciplines and whatnot. So your playstyles should be respected, and I think that's also cool.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I just remember being stuck in a mine for hours, but that's okay. I forgive you. What would your life be like if you lived in those times?
You know, I'm a history buff, and I sometimes when I walk the street, when I walked the street,
You don't got time for that anymore.
Well, I do, but I'm saying it so weirdly because my partner is mocking me for I usually hate to walk. So when I say I'm walking somewhere, she probably laughs about me.
You would get an Uber, yeah.
Yeah, probably. But sometimes I do. Hey, is that me lying there? Maybe.
Are you in it?
Yeah. I do when I walk the streets in Prague, especially like in night or so when it's dark and no one is in the streets anymore. I really wonder sometimes how like a night guard or someone must have felt going with a weapon through the streets or something like in this romantic, wonderful medieval city. And I think that must have like with almost no noise, and that's not me. With almost no noises and stuff in the evening, no electro pollution, no light pollution, everything. So I romanticize that part a lot, of course, like being on a night shift or night guard or whatever. But of course, hard times.
Just someone lighting the streets every night. Just
right?
Yeah.
Going with the little candles and try to that's cool. But of course, hard times, especially in war times. But we try to show this a little bit in KCD2, that you have the let's say farming people or the urban people. Not urban people, the not urban people, the farming people and so on.
Rural
people. Rural, that was the word I was looking for. Because you have this huge political problem here, king invading and the other king abducted and so on, but they don't care. There's a whole quest line about two villages hating each other and trying to do tricks on themselves because they don't care.
They don't have social media.
It's not, first of all, but second, like this huge political thing is only a problem when they're being like attacked or something that didn't happen. Of course it happened, but it wasn't like a daily thing. Their problem is to get food on the table, to get like to survive another day and so on. So we try to show that the country life and the city life were really different, and that they really dealt with different things. And it's not like everyone's talking about the dragon attack here, but they kind of know that something is happening, but their problem is somewhere else.
Yeah. And that's gonna that is changing for Henry also, right? Because he's getting higher up. He's gonna be a big fella. Is that something like character-wise you've talked about a lot?
A lot. So I try to compare it, like in KCD1, he kind of grows from boy to man. He loses everything, family, home. He gets dragged into a war he doesn't want to be in. He's driven by revenge mainly. So he has this like naive thinking that I want to revenge myself, like everyone, and kill everyone and do like feel better afterwards. And KCD2 is all about him now, man, becoming a warrior or someone like of higher stance. And he also realizes that his naive thinking of revenge isn't probably the best motivator, or that it in fact is a naive thinking. When you face some of the bad guys who look at you and say, listen, I have no idea who you are and I didn't mean to harm you personally, it's like this is our job in a way. And I'm talking about this famous meetup when you meet Marquardt von Aulitz in his tent, and he's looking at you and say, are you sure you never killed someone's mother or father?
Yeah.
And you then step out of that tent and you're not sure anymore, like, who is he the bad guy? Am I the bad guy? And at the end of the game, you're being judged by your father, by your parents in a way, like, hey, this is like, you're becoming the thing you're fighting. And
which you always will eventually, probably, yeah.
And I do like that we are going so deep into his morals, generally. A good example is also Father Goodwin. In the first game, he's just this drunken priest, this funny dude. But in the second game, when you meet him again, he's still kind of the funny dude, but you realize a whole different part of him, that he's that he has a story to tell, that he has like moral conflicts inside of him and so on. And I like that we go deeper on that.
When you made Kingdom Come 1, was there like already a plan where these characters were going, or do you write like their starting point and go from there?
So it was always clear that we want to do a second part. Of course, we couldn't admit that, and we even didn't know that it will ever happen, because
like you can't commit like there's a part 3 coming, right?
I can tell you that this Casey we just released, right?
Yeah.
This is exactly what we imagined in the Kickstarter in 2014.
Yeah.
So with that, it's over. Right, this is the thing that we pitched in Kickstarter. We thought back in the days there will be Act 1, 2, 3. That was scratched right away, because that essentially was just KCD 1 is pretty much Act 1 and Act 2, and KCD 2 is Act 2 and Act 3.
Yeah.
Just way bigger. Both of them are almost 100 hours games, so they're like almost like, let's say 150 to 200 hours or so. So it's much bigger than we expected in Kickstarter. But this is the story we wanted to tell, and we knew that there will be a second part, as I said, but we had to wait for the Kickstarter itself. That was the first sink or swim situation, and then the actual release of KCD1, because if that would have failed, we would never work on DLCs, we would never continue with the studio and so on. And when I applied, when I told my parents that I'm working in the gaming industry in 2014, my father is working in the chemistry industry, my mom in clothing and so on, and they thought I will pursue a journalism career with that is like established. I told them I'm going into video games. They weren't very happy about it, and I got questions like, "And what do you do when the game releases?" Yeah. Then what? You look for another job and try to tell them, like, listen, it's not like they're releasing a game and then closing the studio. They tried to stay there. And so same for us now.
So they're proud now.
Now they're happy. Now they're proud.
Parents, yeah.
Now KCD2 is being released. The DLCs are something we are working on. And then slowly but steadily, we don't want to shut down the studio, of course, work on something new.
Yeah, but like you said this before, like while making the game, you're basically just very uncertain the whole time. Like, is this any good? And like you set out to make something, it not to be rude, but it doesn't make sense that it got such a mainstream big appeal. Like, for me, when I went to Kuttenberg, I went as a cameraman for Yellow, who is already crazy about the game. But this shouldn't be for me. But something. That's the weird thing. I cannot explain why I loved the shit out of this game and played it for 200 hours, because I never commit to something for that long. Like, I've had relationships that were shorter than the time I spent with what is it? What is it that for you that makes it such a big success?
I think it's the immersion. I think you fire up the game and what you see there, you at least that's for me. I feel like this game is able to suck you into the world, and you believe that you're part of it, and you are in a way that you are a wheel in this huge clockwork here. So no one is waiting for you. You're not the superhero. You're not the Dragonborn. They're not like crazy for you. If you're coming somewhere, they're usually telling like, "What the heck do you want here?" You have to prove yourself. Then you as a person want to prove yourself, like, hey, I need something and they don't want to help me, so how should I get that? And I think that immersion is the biggest thing here, that everything you see there is so captivating and intriguing, and you want to be part of that. And you said it earlier, you wanted to become a pirate all of the time, and now you want to become a knight. I think it's not because of the knight itself, but because the game, like a good book or a good movie, all of a sudden it's over and you spend 2, 3, 4, or 5 hours in the book and you don't even know how that happened. Yeah. And the game is able to do that as well. It's a very lengthy game. It's a very long game, and still people finich it.
So how do you communicate that? Because people should also know what they get themselves into, right? Because it's one thing to be a knight for once. It's another thing to commit for 200 hours.
We communicate the RPG part. We do not warn people, because that would be weird. Like, be careful.
Be careful. You're gonna be.
Yeah. So we do praise it for what it is, a true RPG experience where you can really decide and shape the way Henry really. It's not just only. There's no character creator, so you play Henry, but the way how he plays it and how he behaves, and if he's stealing or good or bad or being judged by his parents in the end and so on, this is completely up to you. And the mini games, like here the blacksmithing, for instance, for someone it might be super lengthy and
Jelle and Daan do this for hours.
My part, so. I'm not allowed to play the game right at home, so
you're not allowed to play the game.
No. She's playing. My partner is playing, and I'm the.
You're walking.
I'm sitting and watching and shutting up. Yeah. So that's the only thing I'm allowed to. I'm not even allowed to tell her to go left or right or to give her tips in the quest. But so I'm only watching, and she is the kind of person who's just wandering off into the forest. So she plays usually for 2 hours or so in one sitting. So in those 2 hours, she's wandering off into the forest for 1 hour, collecting herbs, looking at animals, looking at vistas, then going to alchemy, brewing some potions. I'm biting into the pillow in front of me and try to convince her, please do a main quest or something. And at some point, she just says, okay, and then she walks towards the main quest. But then there's some random encounter on the streets who gives her another quest about, hey, I'm losing this or that, or there's a fight going on, and then she wanders off again. And this wandering off, you being sucked into this world, you being able to enjoy alchemy, herb picking, blacksmithing, all these kind of things is, I think, the beauty of KCD. And that's again why I think it's such a strong role playing game.
Yeah, because earlier you said it like, but it has to be always fun in the game. To me, I would disagree, because sometimes there were nights I came home from a long day of work and I went and played Henry, and I was like, I had to move bags or something. I was like, not tonight, I already worked. But other nights I loved the fact that I had to do the work, because I was Henry's and Henry has to work. I do like those parts.
Many MMORPGs, when you play them, you're usually when you fire up a session, you usually don't know really what's going on there, and because every session's kind of different. You go on a raid, or you do this, or you do that. There's usually no strong narrative in there. And KCD, to some extent, has the same or a very similar phenomenon, I believe. You fire up the game, as you said, you're coming home from work. You kind of have a plan in your mind. Today I want to do questing or whatever, but then you get super sidetracked by something else, and all of a sudden you're carrying sacks because of some reason some character told you should carry sacks, and you say, you know what, Henry has to carry sacks now. So when KCD also managed, hopefully, I hope the listeners agree here, to kind of that the sessions feel different, very different from each other, usually, often, and that before you fire up the session, you can't really be sure about what do I experience today, what challenge, what adventure is awaiting me today, and I can only tell you what challenge and adventure is facing my partner. It's always alchemy and herb picking.
Yeah. So but she just likes the nature then. Like
probably.
The world is probably the world is amazing on its own. Right?
Thank you for mentioning that. So the area, and of course the cities and villages and so on, these are all based on real locations. You've been to Kuttenberg yourself. So all these things we took a lot of effort in making the villages look real. By that I mean we went through old archives and looked at the city layouts and village layouts, make sure that everything is at the right position. We rebuilt the castles into their look of 1403. Yeah. Kuttenberg still looks like a medieval city, but it's from like 1700, 1800 and so on. So we had to build it back into 1403. And then from nature-wise, so my partner is horse riding. She's a horse girl. And she's actually from that region, or not far from the Kuttenberg region. And one time she played and just stood in the middle of the field and it's like, what's wrong? And she's like, this looks like me on a horse, like in that real region.
That's
like,
crazy.
Yeah. So there's many factors again that.
What's your favorite place that's still preserved? The people can still visit today. Or maybe that isn't preserved. It doesn't matter. What's your favorite place in the game?
I think Trotsky is extremely magnificent. Trotsky, the castle from the first map, Today, it's a ruin. The 2 towers are still kind of there, but not really. But I've visited Trotsky. There we see it on the screen. I visited Trotsky this weekend with my parents, and my father never played the game. We were first to Trotsky, to the real Trotsky, and then I showed him in the same evening in the game.
Yeah.
And he was absolutely like, whoa. Because Trotsky was finished, the real Trotsky was finished in the 1390s, something very late. And KCD2 takes place 1403. So it was in its pride and joy, like it was just finished, like absolutely great, magnificent castle. And the Castellan, who's right now taking care of this region and so on, first of all, they said they have like a tourism increase of 450% between 25 and 30.
That's
crazy amount of people are visiting that place. So Czech tourism is like picking this up like big time. But
are they happy with that, or are there also some
super
towns that
happy.
are like, oh no, there goes the neighborhood?
They were scared about it in the beginning because they didn't know what to expect. They thought people are coming and kicking over their bins and whatever. But they there was recently an O2 study, like the video, the telephone company thingy, and they were tracking user data, internet data of how the people, how they're visiting, and I was on a press conference where the Trotsky people said that this is amazing. They never had such a huge amount of visitors of between 25 and 35. They have a huge amount of visitors from abroad, and what they found is exciting, and that is something they didn't expect before. Usually a visitor of Trotsky goes there for 30 minutes. You go there, you see it, you go home. Yeah. But apparently KCD fans who go there, because they have the game in mind, they're much longer, triple the time, 1.5 hours, 2 hours. They're looking at every corner, nook and cranny. They're trying to compare. They have pictures with them.
They're seeing what's not there as well.
They're seeing what's not there. They're bringing dice. They're playing dice at that area. And they're trying to like real life role play and bring them into the game moment. And this is something we never planned before at Warhorse. We never planned to do something for tourism, or these are all bonus effects that are happening and makes us proud. The mayor of Kuttenberg, when he was not long ago, a few months ago, he was visited by the prime minister. They did something, I don't know, in the city, and the Kuttenberg mayor gave a collector's edition.
I think we met the Kuttenberg. No, we didn't. We did.
Which day have you come?
I think
Tuesday, Wednesday?
She wasn't there that day we were there, but we went to this like awesome room.
Okay.
Should met the mayor, but I think it was like someone.
Okay. He was there 2 days, so you unfortunately probably got the day he was not there. But he gave a collector's edition to the Prime Minister of Czech Republic and to the British ambassador or whatever. Again, this shows you, first of all, he's apparently a fan of the game, but this also shows you that, at least in the Czech Republic, this is considered to be a cultural thing, a representative, like, this is a thing. Usually you give like
ages, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's like KCD for the Czech people is, and I hope I'm not exaggerating, but like The Witcher for Poland. So this is becoming some kind of national treasure at this moment.
Did the same thing for me. Like it didn't make sense for me to like The Witcher 3 as well, but it just completely blew my mind back in the day. I want to talk about the success story because here at Game Kings, it's definitely going to be a lot of people's game of the year for sure.
Knocking on wood.
Yeah, top 3 at least. No, but definitely everyone. I don't know what's going to happen the rest of the year, but for me, it's really high up there. That's nice for a PR manager, I imagine, because it's mostly just a success story. But also during the same game of the first game, there's a lack of diversity. The second game, there was the whole thing about it being woke, being gay. Why
being woke, being gay.
KCD2
is gay.
Put a chick in it and make her gay. That kind of stuff. Like I cannot understand people being mad about this, but people are. How do you choose as a PR manager when you react and to who?
So in the best case, and this is for most cases are the best cases, you don't react at all. Yeah. Because the people who are fighting there are very, at least in those two. So let's step back. So sometimes players are complaining about something in the video game that is objectively bad. Like all of a sudden you have microtransactions or something that is like really really uncool for the whole player basis because it changes the game to a way that no one likes it, right? And this is usually like some marketing or business decisions or whatever.
Or if you put a dragon in it, even though you say like, it's, that's pretty cool actually.
But sometimes you have like controversies that are seemingly only there for the controversy.
Yeah.
So, and we don't want to fight windmills. It's people that attacked us in 2017 and now in 2024 or something like that. Those people don't want to talk to you. Like they don't want to hear reasoning. They don't want to hear arguments at all. They are looking for the controversy, for clicks, for engagement, for drama, pretty much. Yeah. And most of the time, and 95% of the time, you just don't interact with them and just say, get over it, because these people wouldn't buy the game anyway. So it really doesn't make sense. But I mean,
at one point, the actor playing Henry, Tom McKay, he was like telling in interviews he gets like attacked personally. I mean, that feels like
this is the part where we absolutely step in. So at the part, what triggers me most though on both of those controversies were that the people were judging the game before the game came out. So they were judging based on facts that are roaming, or not facts, based on information that were roaming the internet, and half of them were not even true, or not, and some of them were true but maybe misinterpreted and so on. When it gets personal, that's a whole different level. I was attacked as well, but while I can just ignore it, Tom McKay was of course worried, so he reached out to me. We talked about it. We laid out a plan. What happens if something happens? Then we do this, then we do that. Of course, you have to prepare some kind of crisis management thing. But for the second the game came out, everything was gone. Yeah. So because the game is just, the game is not about if there's a gay romance or if there's white people or black people or whatever, diversity. The game is about a wonderful RPG where your choices matter, right? Yeah. And where you can shape the game in a way you want it.
But is this a conversation you guys have? Like, is there a place for modern takes in historical accuracy content or?
No, that's not a discussion we have. We absolutely not. We did everything that is in the game is 110% made by us and by Daniel Vavras of original vision, plus the 299 other developers that are putting in their ideas and everything. They are discussing openly. We have a very flat hierarchy. Everyone can bring up ideas. Everyone else can nuke those ideas, and at the end it makes the process much longer, 7 years after all of KCD2 development, but the result is so much more better. So we didn't put a single thing in there or left out a single thing in there for some political reason or some we think someone will like us more if we do this or that, and this is not gonna happen.
Except killing children. That's a good line, I think.
Well, probably killing children, but there's more connected to work, I guess, rather than the killing part. You can do them immortal, and then
that's for sure. You can kill,
and then you have problem solved.
A question. I'm gonna just read it up because, like, my I don't even know what my editor basically he wrote this down like for one of the things, so I want to just read it because it's a nice thing. Warhorse, like Larian Studio, he did it in Dutch, I translated it. Like Larian Studios is such a much needed breath of fresh air in the game industries. Studios that are successful because they make what they want to play instead of desperately following trends. That's what he wrote down.
Perfect. You followed up exactly what I just said. So.
Exactly. But how do you do that in an industry where everybody just tells you what to do? Especially now that it's been a great success, I can imagine like more people are knocking on your doors. Like,
oh, that's a very good question. So we are very lucky with our publisher Playon, who is of course involved into how should I say? They're not involved in the game. Like, they're not giving us do this or do that and don't do that. We luckily have completely creative freedom to do whatever we want in that game, as long as it's good, of course. But we are judging that, not Playon. That's nice. They help a lot with publishing, distributing, some marketing, and so on. So that is great. But I think that the Central European and Eastern European developers and also indie developers and so on are unbound to bigger corporations and publishers and so on, and therefore can really do what they think is cool. And we, on our end, for instance, didn't try to follow any trend. So what you have sometimes is when PUBG or something is successful, all of a sudden everyone wants to do Battle Royale games, right? So we didn't follow any trend. We tried to be unique in what we are doing. We believe we found a niche. We believe that we found a market because we did, before we went on Kickstarter, of course, did some kind of market research. Hey, would you like this or that?
Yeah.
And very often games in the Western part of the world, like in the United States, for instance, they seem to follow often. Again, not everyone, but often seem to follow some kind of pattern, some kind of marketing ticking box. We should have this and this and this and this because this sells good or whatever.
Yeah. They would want a live service Kingdom Come 3, probably.
Maybe. But it turns out that maybe that's not right. And you see these patterns returning. You see games being introduced with microtransactions, and then you have the surprise Pikachu face that people hate microtransactions most of the time. So I can't give you a better answer than that. We were just lucky that we were able to work on a game without someone tell us, hey, these are the 10 things you have to have in the game, otherwise we won't publish it. So maybe it was lucky. But CD Projekt is doing the same.
Yeah.
While Larian and CD Projekt are both independent, we are not, because we have PlayOn, but it feels like we are, because we don't. They don't interfere.
You managed to keep
the wrong word,
punk
but
rock, basically.
Yeah, they trust us, and that is good.
Is it something I understand? You can't tell me what it is, but I just wonder, because basically the studio was made to make Kingdom Come. It was just, I want to make that, so I found the studio. You already said like Kingdom Come 2 is what we wanted to make, so there was this plan for that. I don't want to know what it is, because I understand you can't tell me that, but in a studio, how do you get new ideas? Is that something that happens as soon as you start working on the first game? Is it just everyone yelling stuff, or how does that work? Like the next thing?
You mean the new game?
Yeah.
So this can be different stuff. It can be, you can of course, so what are the opportunities here? I think you could do the same. You could stay in the Kingdom Come universe, for instance, which means that you can continue the story or tell something of that story. That would be a opportunity, of course. You could stay in the medieval sphere. You can go to France, to the Netherlands, to England, something. So you could change or the time.
Assassin's Creed route.
Essentially, why not?
Yeah.
The Assassin's Creed route is actually something that is inspiring me, at least personally. I think what they did is really great, and they found their place as well. So so this could be one thing, but then again, I told you we don't hunt for trends.
Are you telling me I can become a pirate in a couple of years?
No, I'm just saying what's theoretically possible. Yeah. Then we could come up with something completely new. Absolutely. Out of that, then it's really yelling of ideas. But we have, now that we are 300 people, we have a bit more creative directors now. So they are discussing of what's possible. Then we are, of course, in the big Embracer company. So theoretically, we could do some other ones project or something. But I don't think that is something that we pursue. But the options are.
But do you believe like staying in your lane? Project Red changed. Like they made a shooter after The Witcher.
And I don't blame them, because there's, I think something like fatigue can happen among developers, and if you, especially in the creative people, like the painters, the concept artists, graphic artists, and so on, and you it took years to get this extremely talented crew of people together. But what you don't want to happen is them saying, you know what, I'm tired of medieval, I want to do space shooters. And because you don't do a space shooter, then you have to change the studio, and then you lose all the talent you worked up.
Yeah.
Everyone is replaceable. Every single person in the world is replaceable. But still, you kind of want to keep the team together. You love them, right?
Yeah.
So you have to keep the troops happy and come up with new ideas to make them also like work on something else.
But the Warhorse DNA, would you say that's the historical accurate part or the RPG part?
RPG part.
Yeah.
I think RPG, definitely. This is something I can promise you. The next game we are doing is definitely an RPG, because I think some media, when they reviewed KCD2, they wrote that it feels like Warhorse picked up the torch that Bethesda left lying in the ground.
Yeah.
And I like that quote actually a lot. And I see ourselves there absolutely trying to become like the next RPG heroes somehow, RPG kings. And we want to do them. I think the immersive gameplay, that is the immersive RPGs. That doesn't have to be historical, doesn't have to be authentic, which is almost the same thing, but not really. But the immersive RPGs, that is something where we see ourselves. So we want the characters to matter, the things that they say, that they things matter, that it's connected to the world, that you you move a chair in the past and something else happens in the future. These kind of things is something that is definitely, hopefully, well, it's definitely our DNA, and hopefully that is something that also translates to the people.
Cool. Then last thing, the thing we can talk about now. I think there's still some DLC coming. What can you tell about it?
So 3 DLCs. One is already out, the Painter one. The next one is Legacy of the Forge. Cool DLC. I think that is, I believe, and we were talking about this in the beginning, from all the feedback we got, I think that one will hit most with player feedback, because people keep saying, hey, we liked the first DLC in KCD1 where you rebuild it. I want to own something. I want to rebuild something. So we give you something. You get you get your own forge. You get your own place in Kuttenberg. You have your own shop. You have to rebuild it. There's over 100 million combinations how you could like colors and roof.
You can
and
literally build it.
Well, literally. Well, you get your own place and you renovate it. Let's call it like that. It will be connected to some kind of new, let's call it currency, prestige. So you're becoming a blacksmith essentially because you're a blacksmith's son. So hey, you're becoming a blacksmith.
I feel like I already am a blacksmith.
Yeah, but now you get your own place, right?
Yeah, exactly. I get a sign.
And it's connected again to a very funny, very good quest line in Kuttenberg. And I will show more on Gamescom, but I think that's like, and it's also, it's hard to say if it's bigger than I think it might be the biggest DLC of the
because and after that we get one more, like a church story.
Exactly.
That's what I've been told.
Church story. Well, it's a bit like medicine story, like curing COVID in a way. So we are opening up a huge monastery outside. It's in the third DLC. It comes at the end of the year. A huge monastery outside of Kuttenberg, and you're getting inside with the monks.
That's also something people.
But it's
really
not like
want.
in DLC 1 you are locked in KCD 1 you're locked inside a monastery. There you are free to roam, but it will be connected to medicine, to healing, and so on. It will be really cool.
Cool. I want to go into a monastery. That's something I really look forward to. Thank you so much.
Pirate monk.
A pirate monk. Yeah, but now I've heard it doesn't have to be history accurate. I can be a space pirate, monk, whatever. Thank you so much. It was great talking to you. En iedereen bedankt voor het kijken en tot het volgende item later.